to Power Up Talk Show, a talk show where we bring together community leaders and inspirational people that are making a difference in the world. I am Sandy Spady, your host, and let's fun begin. Before we introduce my amazing guest, we are going to always kick it off with Dion Bass and Songbird Cocktails.
Oh my
Dion, what are you
God.
brewing?
Girlfriend, today we're going to be doing one of those cocktails that, let's just say if your birthday, if the day that you were born on ends in Y, then it doesn't have any calories in it.
Okay, we like that.
So it's going to be my chocolate martini. Now, I got this recipe from Proof 192. So Joel Evol,
Joel, once again, yes.
Kyron O'Brien, their whiskey and cocktail bar. They do a really good job. So if you ever get a chance, get out there, check them out. So for proprietary sake, I will say I have a creme de cacao already in my shaker. I also have a little bit of cream in there. Now our next ingredient is going to be a homemade ingredient. Well, and by home I mean Nebraska made. It's going to be our Brickway vodka. We're going to add that to our mix because we love Zach.
Yes, we do. He's does so much for the community.
He does so much for the community. I remember when he was making hand sanitizer during COVID. The guy is a one of a kind. And then we're going to be using our Shanky's Whip. Now this is a Irish whiskey infused with vanilla flavors.
That sounds scrumptious.
It is. It is. All right, and our last ingredient is going to be just a little simple syrup to give it a little bit of sweetness, because that cacao isn't necessarily sweet on its own. And then what do? Well, we do what we do all the time, Sandy. We
Shake,
dance.
shake, shake.
And if you guys are watching at home, you can see that I already have my little chocolate sticks on my glass for garnish, and we're just going to give these a pour. That looks delicious.
That looks so scrumptious.
You sure you don't want to have me for a guest today?
Well, I think you, Zach, and Joel is a whole episode right there.
It's a whole vibe.
I think we should do it in December. Yes.
Yes, let's do it. And there we have it, our chocolate martini. Cheers, ladies. Have a great show.
Thanks, Dion. All righty, before I introduce, let's do a toast, my friend.
Oh, let's do it.
It's beautiful.
Dion did a wonderful job.
Dion, you know
Snaps for
Dion.
Dion.
You can hire him for private parties.
I love it.
It's an exclusive luxury, right? All right, I am excited to introduce my beautiful guest. I met her 7 years ago when I first moved to Omaha. Natalie Micale.
It's easy to get it messed up.
Micale.
So I'm coming in to help, Sandy.
It's coming in. It's an Italiano, right? I love that. She is the founder and CEO of Oh Hello Ad Agency. She is a Tory Burch on the following fellowship,
yep.
which you have to apply for and be accepted. So that's really cool. Natalie, welcome to Power Up Talk Show.
Thanks for having me, Sandy.
Tell the world your magic. Like, oh, hello. Like branding. Everyone thinks branding's so easy. I got a logo. It's not. It's really standing out in the industry. Tell the audience all about Natalie and oh, hello.
Well, I'll just quickly kind of share my background because it's my hope it might inspire someone else if they're trying to get into this industry. So I'm an ex-TV news anchor and reporter. So this scene is very familiar to me. I worked at 10/11 for 4.5 years, and I got out of that industry because I wanted a little bit more of a normal routine and schedule. And I started working at an Evol Empire creative agency. It was called Evol Empire. That's the actual name.
Nice.
With Andrew Tuzon, and just learning everything I could about branding and marketing and digital. Fast forward 2 years into that job, that agency was acquired by Firespring, and I was the head of business development, so I was able to really help get that there. And I saw a major problem in the market that is still so pervasive today, which is all of these companies are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on their digital, on their websites, on their print campaigns, with no clear brand. And I started Oh Hello initially. I branded it as a brand innovation lab. We've evolved since then in terms of how we call ourselves, an ad agency, a creative marketing firm. But really the problems that I was seeing, I wanted to solve. And everyone thinks a brand is just a logo or just a website. And a brand is really the essence of how you operate, your values, your messaging, and what you deliver every single time to your client or your customer. And that has some intangibles to it. It's your visual identity, it's your brand messaging and your narrative, it's your story and your why, your set of core beliefs, and then it's everything that exists that represents your company has to be branded. So when you think about, a hotel that you stayed at, what's a recent hotel you stayed at?
Oh gosh, I was in Vegas. I stayed at the Grand something downtown. It was just an old traditional, but they remodeled it, so I would suggest it. I think it's just called the Grand.
Okay, so you had this experience there.
Absolutely.
Would you say it was great?
It was great.
What made it great?
It was great because I didn't want the loudness. I wanted this smaller casino type, hotel. And it was very private, and I didn't have to walk 10 miles to get somewhere, right? I could just go down and get a coffee and a cream, and I was there for a convention. And it was very homey.
What about the concierge experience?
Very nice, helpful. They were so nice. They were, went on and beyond of holding and doing things for me. And that is that experience, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I enjoyed, the experience of everyone there and the atmosphere.
So you would say it was like a boutique experience?
Yes.
Well, that's their brand, right? Yes. Your brand isn't just, when you went to the website to book. It is from the time that you enter. How did that person at the front desk greet you? Yeah. What did your hotel room look like? What was sitting there on your bed? All of that creates a brand experience that's homey and cozy and unique and boutique, right? Mm-hmm. And those are just a couple of words. If I saw what they offered you for breakfast, or if I saw the art on the walls, I would be able to clearly define that brand. And amazing brands like Nike or Apple or Amazon or Patagonia, they seek to create a very consistent experience for the end user. And that is what our agency does. We don't just see brand as, hey, we're gonna build you a logo. We see brand as, hey, we're going to look at who is your ideal customer and how do we serve them in the best possible way by building a brand that feels entirely specific to them and their needs. And that is how we operate at Oh Hello.
And just to do a huge shout out to Oh Hello, they just recently did and relaunched the Women with Voices logo. So if you see the new logo, people, it's Oh Hello. And what I found interesting is that the first thing they asked to do is do a survey, right? I have 2,000 women in a private Facebook group. And the survey came back, it almost had tears in my eyes of the experience they have felt for 3 years with Women with Voices. And so we took that experience and you designed this beautiful logo.
And now we're finalizing messaging and voice and tone and looking at how to productize, and by productize, that means open up more opportunities for more women to give them the experience that they want from Women with Voices. And that is, also part of brand. And, you might think, oh, well, we just did a logo, which, I know we didn't. And the outside, exterior is, oh, new logo. That's what, your audience sees. But what they're not seeing underneath all of that is all the work that you and I are doing to make sure that we have messaging, we have, programs and, services that make sense for the audience. And that is all part of branding. And that's what I really try to do as a female entrepreneur in this community is really educate people about what a great brand looks like and what it takes to get there. Because if you want to invest in brand, which I obviously 100% encourage every business owner to do, it's going to take a lot of that homework, that market research, and really digging into what your customer or your client wants, because we think we know, but buyers are liars. And until you actually talk to people, survey people, research, and have experiences with your audience, you don't.
Because believe me, I want the project, I want the logo, I want this, and she's like, we got to go behind. We got to get the meat of the messaging.
And you're an incredible visionary. And visionaries like you who can tell us, all right, this is what I want to accomplish. An agency like us can come in and say, let's break this down into nuggets of action items and actionable work that we can do to deliver that outcome. But, more importantly, I think, Sandy, you and I have talked about this. It's like people are getting thousands of ads every single day. And so how do you differentiate you from another company or you from another, personal brand? The way to differentiate is to be consistent and to just continue showing up, just like a workout, which I know that I do plenty of.
Yes. Pilates queen right here. That's later on. Yes, it's consistency. And I was in advertising and marketing, TV production, I sold advertising for 2 decades. And consistency is so important, and being who you are. Like, don't try to be someone else, but just be your quirky, your amazing, your greatness. Be you, because that's what stands out, right? And I love that you see that, and you can see that in your clientele and then bring it to action.
Well, that's my favorite thing, is meeting people like you who have all of this background and really like to connect people and learning about what are they trying to do with their personal brand, because you have such a phenomenal personal brand, and a lot of people want to build a personal brand like yours, but they don't necessarily know how to step into that authenticity and just really own it. Even, you know, if I were dissecting your personal brand, I would say things like your glasses. You always have these beautiful, quirky glasses that make me remember who you are. And for me, I have a taco purse that I take to networking events, and it says like too spicy, too hot, and it's really funny. And the only reason I have that purse is to just have people, you know, kind of remember who I am and remember that I'm spicy, that I'm fun, that I don't take myself too seriously. And that's a great way to start with personal branding. It's just, you know, if you're trying to brand yourself as a founder or as a thought leader or as a coach or a mentor, start with thinking about, well, how do I present myself and how can I be consistent in the way that I present myself, which you do a great job of. So.
And it all comes down to class of 1986 with big glasses.
Oh, I love it.
I just want to bring back the 80s with the big hair and the glasses. But you're right. A lot of people just organically, I just like big glasses. And now that is a signature look, which I'm never going to get rid of. But it's just being me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so important. Yes. What's the number one advice? So you work for someone, you have all this great, amazing background. What made you take that leap to start that entrepreneurship, and advice you can give women that they're like, ooh, I'm thinking about it, but what?
Yeah, so some of my advice is counterintuitive to what you see on social media, but I think that's because it's real. And the real piece of this is I freelanced for 6 months and saved a ton of money before I made that jump, because I didn't want to have anxiety going to sleep wondering if I was going to make payroll the next week for myself. I'm talking about just for me. And that's really important, because when you are taking the jump into starting your own venture, you have to actually be the salesperson. If you're not prepared to do sales, starting your own business may not be the best thing for you, because ultimately sales is going to be the life of the business. So the first piece is save some money to give yourself some runway. You see all these people like, I dropped out of Harvard, and you know, those stories, and I've actually read a lot of research about this, those stories are a dime a dozen. You need to save some money so that you have a backup plan and you can test and iterate and figure it out without stress. Because number two, while you're starting to build this idea, you should be networking before you quit your full-time job and trying to reach out for those connections in an impactful way and figure out, who do I need to know? Who should I have in my back pocket without asking for anything? In fact, offer, right? So Sandy, you know, if I were, you know, trying to start a talk show like this, which I'm not, but if I were, I would, you know, reach out to you 6 months before and I would say, you know, hey, Sandy, like, I would love to get breakfast and take you out to breakfast and learn about you, right? And I would pay for breakfast. I would build the relationship. And then when I'm ready to launch my own talk show and I really need your help or your guidance or your support, you know, the psychology there is that you don't feel like I just made that a transaction and I built a relationship. So first, save some money, okay? The college dropout story, the high school dropout story, those are a dime a dozen. Save some money. Second is invest in connections. Do that impactful networking before you leave. And then the number three is what I did, freelance. And by freelancing, I mean this. Let's say you want to develop a sneaker company, right? You can develop that product on the weekends. You can put in some elbow grease. You can test it. You don't need to go all in on that until you have a working thesis of this is what people will buy. So in service-based companies, that's a little easier to do because with, say, a marketing agency, I could sell one website that we do over 3 months, and I could make it a great product. I could offer a discount for a case study, stretch the timeline out a little bit, and then kind of test. Does my proprietary process work? Does this clientele that I chose operate well for me? And then build a business. If I was a product-based business and I was selling a sneaker, I would be testing and iterating and not putting everything, my entire life, into this one idea. Yes. And that's another piece of advice. I see a lot of founders who come to us because we do a variety of different marketing and branding, and we definitely have worked with many direct-to-consumer e-commerce brands. The founders who make it have usually done a significant amount of testing and research. They've even launched a Kickstarter. They've gotten people to pre-sale, pre-buy the offer or the product that they have, and they're now quitting their full-time job to go all in after seeing initial traction. So you have to be really savvy. If you want to be an entrepreneur, be savvy, be sharp. Don't take unnecessary risks early on, because there's going to be so much more in the future that you have to tackle.
It's so true. And I actually public speak about finding the person you want to be, that successful person, and shadow them, love on them, watch them, because that's a reason why they're successful, right? And a lot of times, like you said, take them out to coffee, ask them for dinner, because they want to help.
And truly give.
They truly want to help you. But if you don't offer that and start building that relationship, and then you're like, hey, I'm having a talk show. Can you be on like next Thursday at 2:00? They're like, who are you? I don't know you. Building
harder to get the
relationships,
yes.
number one. Like, you have to build those connections. My entire life, I networked. People are the magic.
People are the magic. And you know, I heard this really great piece of advice yesterday from Allison Benenato. She's starting a nonprofit in Omaha, Inspire Health, I believe is the name. And you know, we were having both chaotic days, but we ran into each other at a coffee shop, and she actually said to me, you know, all the other stuff is just noise. People remember how you feel, how you service them, how you show up for them. And if you can just dig into that in every element of your business, whether it's sales, account management, client services, if you're servicing a client, it's really important that the rest is noise. What people remember is how you make them feel.
Yeah, 100%. That's so funny. She was actually, last September, I hosted a pitch competition, and Allison won it. I know it's Allison. Yes, she's amazing.
Yeah,
yes,
no surprise.
But you just ran into her.
Yeah,
Yes. So many amazing women in Omaha just call me. I have them. Yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's your thing, and I think that's why so many women feel like they can come to you with their problems too. And then you were able to start Women with Voices because you had already tested it. You've been testing it for months.
My entire life.
By listening to what women want.
Yes, that's what's so great. Listen, and then action, and then have that back. Like, so many women, they think that, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm just going to do it. But like, you have to have a backup. I love that you said, number one, have a backup with financial.
Yes.
Because if you have that, great. But a lot of people don't, just do that. And that financial freedom, just to like do it the right way.
And live in the present. Don't get ahead of yourself. Live in the present, right? I've worked with so many entrepreneurs who get so ahead of themselves. They're thinking about how to get into Nordstrom when they don't even have product samples. Live in the present. And by living in the present, you can be really intentional with, what do I need to do to get this off the ground and make a buck next week? And, worry about Nordstrom or Target or all of these bigger strategies once you've been able to get some traction. But, I'm rooting for anyone who wants to start their own business. And I am so, excited when a friend comes to me and says, I have an idea, right? But I think the biggest piece that we don't talk about is the entrepreneurs who fail, the entrepreneurs who do go bankrupt, the people that don't make it. And those stories are really important to listen to. And I've done a really, I think for myself, I've done a really good job at kind of following those stories and trying to understand them, because I want to understand how can I best help my clients, but because we're building brands and ultimately helping them grow their business, but also how can I intuitively figure out what's right for me and what decisions do I need to make in the now to protect the future. Entrepreneurship is the hardest and most rewarding thing that I've ever done, and I know you feel the same way. And it has so many highs and lows. And the truth is that most people don't make it as an entrepreneur. That's just the stats. I think it's like 78 or 80%. Most people don't. So how do you set yourself up for success so that when you do take that plunge, you are completely ready for what's coming?
That's a great advice right here, Natalie. Yes. As far as working with your ideal client, like, what was the most great experience you had with one of your clients that you saw, like, they might have been here and they just took off? Like, what's a great experience you can share with the audience of a success story?
Yeah, I have a recent one that I'm really excited about, because we're about to get a dog. My fiance and I are about to get a dog, so we're really excited.
Engaged, audience. Just a couple weeks ago.
Woo! So we have a client called Maisie Days, and I like to share this story because we've helped this individual and this brand from the very beginning, when she had just validated the product, to now she's making thousands and thousands of dollars every month in e-commerce. Nice. And it was, first off, a 2.5 to 3 year journey. I want to share that because I met this client almost 2.5 years ago, and she'd been working on it 6 months before that, for her to find her manufacturer, test the product, do the sample work, right? This client with their ideal customer knew that there was a massive need for these bags, which are trendy, cute, super adorable. They are, and I'll bring you one, Sandy. Yeah, I'll definitely bring you one. They are bags that go around your waist. They also have bags that go across your body, and they fit in everything you need to give your dog when you're walking them. And you can access those things very easily. I don't have a dog currently, but I know that you can access things like, the rolls that you need when they go potty, the dog treats, all of these different things.
Okay, this is what you need.
Yes.
I need room for my chapstick, my rosary, dog treats, and poop bags.
All of those things will fit in this bag.
My dog, yes.
I will bring you one. All of those things will fit in this bag.
Yes.
Okay, so when we were working with her on developing her tone of voice and her brand personality, which is very key, which is how you sound on social media, your writing guidelines, and all the key language that you use, as well as the founder story, we were able to glean from her so many insights because she had done a really good job identifying her ideal customer. Her ideal customer was a female who was between the ages of 25 to 39, lived in a major city, started their day with a walk outside with a dog, liked iced caramel, macchiatos. Typically their dog was the way to get them out of the house, remote worked at a tech company. I mean, she knew this audience like the back of her hand. I mean, if you can tell me what your audience drinks, then we're in good shape, right? Where they shop, Target, Starbucks, carries an iPhone, right? All of the, and some of those, Target, Starbucks, but there were other brands that she shared. Okay, so we get the ICP, we get the ideal customer, the target persona very well defined. She had a high level ideal customer profile. We get that persona dialed in. We build the website. We do the photography. We build her social strategy. We build her ads. We are involved in the logo and visual identity from the very beginning. All of these things, that's 5 pieces that we did, were for that target audience, right? We were thinking about that persona every single time we put something in front of her. And today, she launched 6 months ago. I mean, she just had her highest grossing day of sales from our ads, just a week ago, and got like 1,500 or 1,700 of sales in a day. And the bag is
And what is her name? Because I want to follow her.
Her name is Ashley Miller, and she's amazing. Nice. She's a great founder. But I want to just clarify that none of this would have been possible had she not tested the product, developed a need for a problem that actually needed to be solved, figured out how to get several samples and how to continue iterating. She's never left her full-time job. She still has a full-time job. Oh, and what is her full-time job? Helping to support rescue dogs. Okay, so
matches.
This brand was created for people who want to have a mazy day, a day that's bright and radiant with their dog and feel good about themselves. And the founder story is that she was going through some things in her life, and her dog Maisie pulled her up. And sometimes that founder story and that why is it's so easy.
So important.
It's
yes.
so important,
People
but it's so
buy
easy.
your story.
Right?
They want to support your story.
Yeah, so this is a founder-led brand.
Nice.
And in a couple years, when she gets into Nordstrom and, Target and all these other places, the brand will expand into, a brand that has a different culture, maybe a different story behind it. But for now, it's a founder-led brand, and she is, successful with it. And we've been with her since the beginning. And the reason it's successful is because she put in the work, and then we were able to take that work and build a brand around a very specific person.
That's great. So what's the name of the business?
Maisie Days.
Maisie
Follow
Days.
them.
Oh my gosh. That is such a great success story.
It's a great success story.
It makes
She's
my
a
heart happy.
entrepreneur.
I'm a dog, I love my Duke, my Labrador. Like, that's such a great story. That's what people love. And I tell so many women, I teach public speaking, is find the confidence in your voice to share your story, because you sell yourself every time.
You sell yourself.
Every time, and your story behind the story. Actually, I'm going to do a book on that. I'm just saying that. That is beautiful. Now let's talk about Natalie. Okay. Natalie herself, right? She's a Pilates queen. We got 3 minutes to talk about the greatness of Natalie. She's just recently got engaged. It is great man that probably I will have on the show, Andrew. That's a locally owned business, coffee shop, distributor.
Yes, coffee distributor. It's okay. Everyone gets that confused. Host Coffee.
Coffee. Yes. He'll be here. What do you like to do in your free time besides work out and out, planning a wedding?
Yes.
But tell us who Natalie is.
I'm a voracious reader, so I love to read. I think reading, my grandmother, who had a huge role in my life from an early age, would take me to Barnes and Noble every summer. We'd pick out 7 or 8 books, and then I'd report back to her after I read them and what I liked and what I didn't like. So I'm a voracious reader. I like to read things that educate me about, you know, who I am and who I can be, but I also love, you know, right now I'm reading Fourth Wing, which is a dragon series. I just finished ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses. I love getting lost in these fairy worlds, Game of Thrones. So I'm a big reader. You know, if you ask me what I love to do, one of the things is read and then be outside. I love to hike in nature. I love to just sit on the patio and just be. And then I'd say, you know, a couple other pieces about me that people don't usually know is I went to a performing arts high school. And so for me, musical theater is a huge piece of my life. I look at every brand as we're putting on a show, and what is the stage?
Love that.
You know?
It's like a commercial. It's a show. It's a production.
Yes. And no matter what, the show must go on,
Yes.
right? Even if we lose a few key players.
Yes.
So I love to see Broadway musicals. You know, I just had the pleasure of going to New York City way too many times and being able to see so many shows. You know, I work with the Lead Center. They just sent me to a show, Moulin Rouge in Iowa, and I got to see that in Des Moines. It's coming to the Lead Center in February in Lincoln. But that's a huge passion area for me is, you know, listening to musicals, going to see plays. I'd love to maybe do community theater eventually. And I just think that
I was just going to ask her, do you want to do that? Because if you
Yeah.
do it, I'll do it.
Sandy,
Right? Let's do it together right there.
We might need to cheers into that because
it's just fun,
it's
right?
so fun to get lost in being a
Yeah,
character.
lost in someone else's world, right?
Yeah, and if you like, ask me, what are the things that you like? It's things where I can do that. And yeah, so reading, musicals, of course, Pilates and spin at Fly Fitness. We're opening in downtown Omaha. I've been teaching at that studio.
I'll do the ribbon cutting.
Would love that. I've been almost there for 8 years in Lincoln, and we're opening in Omaha, and it's just such a fabulous thing for me because I love dancing on a bike. So.
That. Okay, we have 32 seconds.
Okay.
How can people reach the amazing Natalie?
Yes, so following me on Instagram at Natalie Micale, LinkedIn me at Natalie Micale. You know, I don't use Twitter, but LinkedIn and Instagram are wonderful. And if you are a female entrepreneur who is thinking about, you know, taking off to that next step of your journey and you want to reach me, would love to reach out, have a conversation. If you're a business, would love to talk about how we can help. And if you just want to be friends, I love making new friends.
She just moved to Omaha, ladies and gentlemen. Just moved here.
Just moved here.
Thank you so much for being on my
Thank
show.
you so
Thank
much.
you for being the amazing Oh Hello agency that just relaunched Women with Voices. She's
so
also going
excited.
to be a speaker at Summit
Can't wait.
2025, Unstoppable. Ladies and gentlemen, remember you have one life, live it. If you want to do something, do it. If you want to touch someone, touch them. If you want to write that book or read that story, do it. Be in the moment, make it the most, but just do it. Thank you.